God had manifested himself to Moses and the nation, and now he wants his tent. And actually the tabernacle became like a portable Sinai. The glory which was on the top of the mountain came right into the tabernacle, overflowing from there, glory, power, resting on this wonderful tent that had been made. And although God is everywhere, he is manifestly, powerfully present there. His glory was on it. It's interesting that in the New Testament, when John writes his gospel, he says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then he says this, the Word became flesh and tabernacled amongst us, and we beheld his glory. He's obviously using Exodus language. What they saw in the Old Testament of glory in a tent made with skins is now manifest in the glory of a human being. Now God became flesh and dwelt among them. They beheld his glory. God came down to live among people, among men. That was the whole point of the tabernacle in the Old Testament, but here, far more vividly, now in a human being. And men were invited to be with him. Come, follow me, be with me. And so people left their nets and were living their lives with God. They were living with Jesus. They had an experience of living with God. And Jesus could say this, he that has seen me has seen the Father. So day by day they saw his glory. They saw him turn water into wine. They saw him fill nets with fish, quell storms with a word. Every day, can you imagine this? Every day men were living with God. They heard words spoken, and they said this, no man ever spoke like this man. They'd never seen love personified like this. They'd never seen kindness demonstrated. He walked towards lepers that people were fleeing from, gathered little children that others wanted to shoo away. Just an extraordinary, wonderful person. They lived with him. They ate with him. They talked with him. They rested on him. Every day. I can imagine each day them waking and saying, wonder what today is going to do. Wonder what it's going to be like today. Imagine living your life with God. For these guys, to be a Christian was to be living with God. That was their experience. Every day, living with God. And then there came that dreadful day when Jesus said, I'll only be with you a little longer. You find it in John's Gospel in chapter 13. I can imagine the horror of these disciples. What do you mean? Is that it? Was it just a brief visit then? Is it all over? You were in this tabernacle for a little while and it's going? And then he says almost immediately, I won't leave you orphans, I'll come to you. Oh, he's coming back. Imagine Peter saying, oh, Jesus, you must never say anything like that again. You terrified us. I thought that having lived with God for 3 years, it was all going to stop. And God said, no. Jesus said to them, I'll come to you. Because the fulfillment of that was on that wonderful day of Pentecost, when the disciples and others were gathered in that upper room, and suddenly from heaven came the sound of a mighty rushing wind, and fire fell upon them all, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. He's back. I can imagine them saying, he's back. God was back with them. The visit of Jesus wasn't just to be a temporary thing. They were not to write a Bible of what it used to be like when God was with us. Imagine the church being a group of people who gather just to talk about what it was like when God used to be with us. No, the book of Acts doesn't look like that. The book of Acts looks like God is still with them. He's amongst us. We're the new temple. His Spirit is with us. Don't settle for anything less. He wants to be amongst us, filling our lives, filling our church life. God with us. That's what the gospel's all about.